But I want to thank you guys for joining. And then I'm going to bring Janita in so she can say hello and we can go ahead and get the Zoom started. Janita, you're on mute.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello.
I just want to say thank you guys for joining us just to learn about these renovation products. I think you're going to definitely benefit from this and take away some nuggets to grow your business in the renovation space. So we're just happy to have you.
Awesome. And like she said, thank you guys for joining us. Have the energy and the synergy. This is not your boring products. This is not a CE course. This is an opportunity for you to really tune into our program so that way you can know what it is that we offer. I want to thank everyone who came out to the renovation brunch. If you didn't make it, don't worry. We will have another one. We had a full house. It was absolutely amazing. And the energy and synergy was great. What we realized after that Zoom is that a lot of people didn't know about the products. So at that brunch, we focused on how to find a contractor, the consultant role, the attorney role, how to look up building violations. And we can also get that information over to you as well. Today, we are going to go over our products and programs. So I want to introduce to you guys, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, Mr. Joe Daly. Joe Daly is my manager, our manager, and he runs the renovation department. He has so much experience in the renovation world. He used to be a loan officer as well, and is still licensed, and he knows everything it takes to get these products to the closing table. So I want Joe Daly to come on. I call him Mayor Daly because he is the mayor of renovation over in the Guarantee Rate Affinity world. So Joe, if you want to introduce yourself and get the party started.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Natasha. This was great to get these people together. And, you guys are blessed to have Natasha at the helm, and she has her staff as well to help you consider renovation loans, talk about renovation loans, sell a home, list a home with renovation in mind. So we're so happy that you joined us. And before anything else, pat yourself on the back for investing some time in yourself. So anybody can go to a lunch and learn and get free lunch, right? But this is renovation lending. And so we're going to talk about our products today. And there again, it's an education piece, but also it's kind of a salesy type event in the fact we're going to show you how to sell houses differently. And we're going to talk about situations and recommendations that might even have you calling your customers back that you showed houses to yesterday, last week, last month, because now you know of a renovation product that allows someone to finance in the stuff the house doesn't have or the stuff they don't like about the house, right? I mean, if you have a customer and they want A, B, C, and D, and you can put in the MLS and you can find A, B, C, D, and E, it doesn't take you very long to sell a house. But if they have specifics that they're looking for, or just the housing stock that's listed out there doesn't have any of it, it's really hard to find the most perfect house for your most perfect client. So when it comes to imperfect listings, here's a great product that allows you to take a dream and achieve the dream and offer them through renovation lending. So today, why renovation loans, right? Help your buyers look past cosmetic issues or maybe even structural issues, because Natasha and her team, they have renovation loans that can do really soup to nuts, right? A to Z, light to moderate renovations, heavy renovations, structural repairs, changing it from a 4-family to a 3-family, mixed use properties, fixing a pool, adding a pool, lots of different things. We're going to talk about those today. Unlock inventory that most others overlook, right? If you want to find the very best buy for your customer, it's going to be a house that's been on the market for some time, right? Houses that are renovated and they're pretty, they sell themselves. But homes that need renovation, they need help from listing agents, selling agents to be able to show houses, but also at the same time, introduce ideas that helps people finance renovations into their new loan. Like, how can they do that, Joe? Well, renovations are unique. Natasha and her team have about 200 different mortgage products to sell you, but only renovation loans allow them to use an after improved or an as repaired value. So in a hypothetical situation, we have the appraiser give us a value of what the home is going to be worth when it's renovated. It's kind of really neat, right? And the fact that we're going to use sold comparables in the area to say, hey, Mr. Appraiser, Miss Appraisers, don't appraise it as it is. Appraise it as it shall become using these bids that Natasha and her team actually gather over the renovation period, over the process period before we go to closing. Realtors win with renovation loans. Why? Because you can now sell homes that need work, just not move-in ready properties, but also gives you the availability to educate your buyers about transforming fixers into dream homes, right? You've seen it on HGTV. There's about 30 different programs on HGTV that talk about flipping and fixing and renovating. And I think that's so important to understand as a realtor, is that you don't have to sell the house as it is. You sell the house as it will become. Very, very powerful. I'll say it again. You don't have to sell the house as it is. You sell the house as it will become. If you had to sell every house in as is condition, you have a hard time selling them. But when you can give the buyer a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 renovation budget on top of what they can purchase on the market, that's what you need to talk about. So most important, get with Natasha and her team, get your buyer pre-approved for a full acquisition cost. What can they afford, including the renovations? So for example, if you get a pre-approval from Natasha's team and the pre-approval is for 600,000, well, they can buy anything that adds up to 600. Maybe they buy a 2-family in downtown Chicago for 400, but they want to put 200 in it. Maybe they want to buy a $550,000 house that just needs carpet and paint for another 50,000. So know what your buyer's capability is as far as approved for not a mortgage amount, but really an acquisition cost. A plus B. A, the sale price, and B, your renovations. If you're a listing agent, you've got to be a great listing agent in today's market, right? Lots of competition out there. But when you have renovation in your side pocket to bring out and saying, hey, I know you and the missus has been here for 48 years, and no offense, but you really haven't done anything in 48 years. It's going to be hard to get top dollar for your home. So people who are going to buy your home may need a renovation loan. And I've taken courses and watched seminars about renovation loans, and I can help sell your house faster, quicker, better with renovation in mind, and offering that idea to potential buyers who are coming through the door. So really, today's education is about renovation loans. Renovation loans offer the buyer the ability to buy the property, close in as is condition, but finance both the sale price and the listing dollars, right? So the reason we close in as is condition, because no work is done until after closing. You're not waiting around for someone to re-roof a house. You're not waiting around, nor your buyer are waiting around for someone to put carpet in the house. We're going to find the contractor, get the bids, order the appraisal, close the loan, come on into the closing table, pick up your check, right? But more importantly, that's when really renovation starts for us. And we have our own draw department. So we hold those monies in an interest-bearing escrow account and then send the dollars back out to the contractor, right to the contractor, as work is usually completed and inspected by the lender and the borrower. So appraisal assignments are done differently. When you do a regular loan with Natasha that's non-renovation, she's ordering the appraisal Monday morning. But when you do a renovation loan, we don't order the appraisal until we have the bids, because the bids from the contractor actually tell us what's going to happen. They tell the contractor, they tell the appraiser, they tell the lender what's going to happen with this property. It's going to be safe and sound and secure and sanitary and healthy, and roll all these renovation good costs into the mortgage. So finding the most perfect home in today's market is really kind of hard, but knowing that you have renovation dollars available to you through a renovation type mortgage allows you to give that vision to saying, we've got a budget. You're pre-approved for 600. Let's look for something for 500 and know that we have $100,000 to spend on renovation. So here's an example we're used today. You sell a house for 400, they need 100 for renovation. We're going to call that total, right? What's A plus B always equal? C, right? So the acquisition cost of 500, even if you watched like Chip and Joanna on HGTV, on Fixer Upper, they always talk about your all-in budget. That's what we're going to talk about today. Buy it for 400, you need 100 for renovation, and then here's your acquisition cost. Now, what Natasha just talked about is products. Since I've been here, I brought additional products. When I came here, we just had the FHA 203K. Then we added the home style, then the choice renovation, and now VA. Look at these down payments that are required. Minimum down payments required on FHA, 3.5%. VA reno, 0% down. Conventional, depending if your buyer is a first-time home buyer and qualifies for first-time home buyer money, 3% down, but at a minimum 5% down conventional when it's an owner occupied purchase. On the right hand side, you can see how the math works. Hey, my total acquisition cost is 500. I'm going to put 3.5% down, and I'm going to borrow the difference in my new loan. So we're talking about one loan amount, one loan, one monthly payment, right? This isn't two loans. This isn't two reasons. Well, it is two reasons, isn't it? Two reasons to buy the house, borrow the money to buy it, and then borrow the money to renovate it. But simply just with one house payment. So the products we're going to talk about today are the 203K Standard and the 203K Limited. Two FHA products. One is the big guy, right? This is for major renovations, room additions, structure repairs, renovations over $75,000. The next product's the limited 203K, renovations under $75,000 total, and most that would also include some of the renovation costs that are available on the loan program. Pardon me, got a little tickle there. And then the Fannie Mae home style product, and then the VA renovation and the Freddie Mac renovation program. So the product is the product, right? These are different loan programs for different types of buyers, but really the process is the same. We get your borrower qualified, we decide what the best program would be for them, and then we would move forward. Is it a little bit of renovation? Maybe the FHA 203K Limited. Are they a veteran? Well, then we'll give them the VA renovation loan. If they're a conventional buyer and they have 5% down or more, or 3% for a first-time home buyer, and they have better credit or a larger down payment, we may take them on either one of the conventional programs. Let's talk about Chicago specifically, since you're in that market. The homeownership rate in Chicago right now, and I get this information from a website called neighborhoodscout.com. It's a pretty good resource for you, because it'll give you different neighborhoods and what the makeup is and the demographics and the data for each one of those neighborhoods. So as a whole, and Chicago's a big place, right? But as a whole, the homeownership rate is 44%. Not too good, is it? Right? A lot of people in rentals. And some people in rentals think that you need 20% down still. We need to educate them, right? But you can see the different price ranges that you see here, that a lot of the big bulk here, 80% of the homes are somewhere between 130,000 and almost $1 million. So you have a large, wide area of valuations across the city. But you can see here, the FHA loan limit is 524,000, and the conforming loan limit is 823,000. So we have renovation dollar amounts for a lot of people going FHA, and certainly people who are going people who are going conventional or VA. So we have a lot of different price range available and a lot of different products available that covers a lot of different of your housing stock throughout Chicago. Now, who wants to take a guess here? What's a percentage of Chicago's homes that are greater than 25 years of age? What would you think? You can put it in the chat, or we can talk about, is it 50%, right? Is it 73%, 86%, 82%? What do you think the average number of homes that are greater than 25 years of age? Let's just take a look. 86%, right? So you have a good chance of showing older housing stock when you put Mary and John or Bill and Betty or whoever in your house, right? I mean, in your car, or meet them at properties. They're going to have older housing stock. And with older housing stock, the need for renovation is very clear. You can see here that almost 40% of all Chicago's housing stock is 1939 or older, right? You're selling a house that was built 80, 90, 100 years ago, and those homes definitely are not energy efficient. They need fixed up, they need renovation dollars. So renovation should be your best friend when you're showing certainly any housing stock, but certainly older housing stock. I did a survey, and there are 1,600 listings in the Chicago metro area that are already over 30 days. Excuse me, 30 days or over on the market. So homes that are great condition, they sell very quickly. But homes that need renovation, they stay on the market. So if your customer came to you and said, "I want the very best buy in Chicago," it'd probably have to be a house that was on the market for some time, meaning that the desirability is very low. Lower the desire, lower the price, right? Higher the desire, higher the price. Let's talk about FHA, then we'll take some questions. So let's talk about FHA. The FHA 203K program is unique financing that allows the buyer, again, to borrow the money for the sale price and the renovations in one seamless transaction. Now, it also says there, refinance. All the products we're going to talk about today are both for purchases and for refinancing. So maybe you have a customer that's been in the home 5 years and they're wanting to not move, they're just wanting to upgrade. They need a new roof, they need a new furnace. How about a renovation loan? And remember, the number one value proposition with renovation loans is the fact that we lend money on the future value of the home. Maybe they have some equity, but not enough equity to get what they want. Now, the 203K does come in two different products. All right. You have the standard and the limited. Again, the limited is less than 75,000. And that's a new update since last November. There was a $35,000 limit for about 2 decades. And FHA quickly realized that even the smallest of renovations are over 35,000. You could just do a single kitchen, new wall cabinets, new base cabinets, a new countertop, a dishwasher, a different disposal, refrigerator. That could be easily $40,000 right there. And if it is, FHA says that's a limited 203K. And so they raised the dollar amount from 35,000 all the way to 75,000 to keep that as a limited K. This program allows us to pay the contractors in 50% increments, meaning 50% up front of the bid and then 50 at the end. They love that, right? Imagine promoting a product that says, you bring me a $60,000 new kitchen, I'm going to pay the contractor $30,000 up front. That gives them shopping money, right? Seed money to go out and buy the cabinets, the countertops, the flooring, etc. And then no other monies are released until the end when all the repairs are completed and done. Then we have the standard 203K. That's for our renovations greater than 75,000 or when there are any structural repairs, right? So you've all been in basements where you have the bowed wall moving in, or maybe you have stair step cracks down the cinder block walls, and we need some renovation monies for those. Anything structural will have to be done as the standard 203K. So these are two great products for you to promote out when you're showing properties and overcoming the buyer's objection, right? So I didn't go into it earlier, but I've been around a long time. I got my real estate license in 1983. So how long ago was that? Long time, 43 years ago. Wow. So 43 years ago, I got my real estate license. I sold real estate 8 years. Then I became a professional mortgage banker. And what I learned quickly is that I loved renovation. I live in a small town in Ohio, but it's a river town and a steel town. And because of that, we have a lot of blue collar workers. And with that, we also have older housing stock. So I took what I thought was the very best product for my own neighborhood, my own city, and then expanded from there. Now I'm a national sales manager for one of the largest mortgage companies in the United States, and I run their renovation department, all from my background. So you two have a lot of housing stock, right? But you have great FHA loan products and you have a great loan amount. So look here, your FHA loan limit on a single family in Cook County, 541,000. In 1983, when I got my real estate license, it was $116,000, right? So in 43 years, it's quadrupled, right? So, and then look here, if you're selling a duplex to someone who's going to own or occupy it, 693, a 3-family 837, and a 4-plex 1.041 million, right? So the reason that these go up is because these are bigger units, right? A 4 is bigger than a 3 is bigger than a 2 is bigger than a single. So know that as long as your buyer is going to live in one of the units, they can buy a income producing property. What I call it is owner occupied investment property. I'll say it again, owner occupied investment property, right? If someone's paying them rent, it's an investment, right? But they're living there, so they can get in for 3.5% down. And Natasha's team can actually use the new rental income, not the old rental income, but the new rental income based from the appraiser. So we order an appraisal. Not only do we ask for a after improved market value, but also what are the after improved rents? And then Natasha's able to use 75% of the total of the rental income that's coming in. So very powerful. So if you bring a buyer to Natasha's team, she says, well, they qualify for a $400,000 single family. But if they go to a duplex, $500,000 duplex, $600,000 triplex, $700,000 duplex. Why? Because she gets to use the rental income from the rental unit in order to qualify them for a larger unit. Okay, very, very powerful. Older housing stock, older the housing stock, less the energy efficiency. And you can use the renovation loan in order to upgrade the energy efficiency of the home. New furnaces, air conditioners, hot water heaters, whole house ceiling, insulation upgrades, duct sealing, windows, doors, HVAC systems, hot water heaters, and even renewable energy, right? So if your buyer's saying no because of an old furnace or because of an old roof, that's what renovation does for you, right? It makes it anew. It's almost like a build to suit type of a mortgage. You know, if I gave you all the choices in the world, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what would you do to this property? Oh, we'd start with new carpet, we start with new paint. And then what if I told you there was a loan program out there that allowed you to borrow the money at about $6 per thousand? They're like, what? What are you talking about? $6 per thousand. Did you know when you borrow money on a 30-year amortization schedule, you're borrowing money at $6 per thousand? So now you're a walking calculator for house payments, right? If you need another $30,000 to make that house their dream home, 30,000 times 6, for $180 a month, they get to borrow $30,000 to take care of the things that they want to take care of. Otherwise, they're going to say, let's just keep looking. We don't like this house. We don't like the dirty carpet. We don't like the bad roof. We don't like the old furnace. Why don't you just borrow 30 and make this your home? Hence, it gives you the ability to write more offers, make more sales. Now, we've all been in basements like this, right? But we know that this house has to be reduced on the market. You can't sell this house that has a bowed wall. It has hydrostatic pressure pushing from the outside in, even have a wet basement. This house wouldn't pass an FHA inspection unless you went FHA 203K, the ability to borrow the money to make the home meet minimum property standards for FHA, to make it safe, to make it sound, to make it secure and sanitary and healthy. So someone's come along and put these steel beams in there, but they didn't do a very good job because it didn't hold back the water. So it's not the beam's fault, it's the water fault. So no one took care of maybe the gutters and the downspouts and moving the water away from the foundation. So they already knew about it, but they thought they could take care of it with these steel piers. But water can actually bend these steel piers. So you got to make sure that you're doing it right with the right dollars. So when it comes to beams or posts or a new foundation, those are things that you can do with a renovation mortgage. add a kitchen, enlarge a kitchen. That's what they're doing here. Look at that. Add a bedroom, repair an in-ground pool, convert an attached garage to a living space, add a detached garage. If you're selling a home that's 120 years old, it probably doesn't have a garage if no one's ever added one. And here you, as a realtor, 120 years later, saying, I'd love to sell this house to you. Like, we're not going to buy this house. We're not going to buy this house and not have a garage. Oh, you should know there's a special renovation loan out there that allows you to finance a new garage right into your new mortgage. They're like, no way. Yeah, way. Add an ADU, right? Becoming very popular, certainly more in the California Eastern Seaboard. But if Cook County or your municipality allows ADU units, accessory dwelling units, then you would be able to add and borrow the additional monies to add a income producing ADU. And again, Natasha's team can use the rental income from an ADU unit. So an ADU unit could be a separate little house in the backyard, or it could be an attached, maybe for a multi-generational family. Maybe grandma and grandpa want to live near, but actually live right next door to attached building, or it could be a detached building, but depends on the type of loan it is. So FHA allows some ADUs, but not all ADUs. And you can get that information from Natasha's team. So for FHA, a quick review, 1 to 4 properties, only owner occupied, right? Some condominiums may qualify, most of them don't. Mixed use properties, right? And modular homes. Now, when I talk about mixed use properties, we're talking about homes that have part commercial, part residential. So here's a good example. This is a very large home that was added onto, and they added on a commercial space to it. Here in the window, it says James Whitaker, attorney at law. If James works downstairs, where does James go to bed, right? James lives up here. He has a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, a bedroom, even has a second or a third floor to live in. Maybe this is his art studio or something like that. But even FHA allows you to use mixed use properties. And it can look something like this, but also look something like this. So as you head downtown or throughout different municipalities, you may be able to use an FHA 203K to renovate a mixed use building where you have commercial space on the first floor and then maybe your buyer's unit here. And then they can actually then have a renter join them. So they would buy the whole building and then they would be able to live in one unit, rent the other out, and then maybe they run their own business, or this is already leased out to maybe it's a billiard room, maybe it's a bar, maybe it's a tanning salon or a barber shop. So remember that you don't need a commercial loan for a property that's residential. You may be able to use an FHA 203K to borrow the money to buy it and also the money to renovate it. You can't use any of the renovation dollars in the commercial space, right? No money in the commercial space ever. Interest rates, they're favorable, right? Renovation interest rates run about 0.5% higher than normal rates. That's because just they're riskier type loan. But down payments, look at that, low all the way down to 3.5%, and minimum credit score is around 580. Natasha's actually gotten some people done below 580 because she's coached them. Her and her team have coached them on how to write a motivational letter, how to repair their credit, right? And show that they're making good progress on maybe something that happened a long time ago. Renovations, we give them 6 to 9 to 12 months to get the renovations done, depending on how big the repairs are. And of course, this is an FHA product. Now, something that Natasha's going to talk about at the end is about foreclosures, right? She's going to have a special HUD presentation coming up. It's going to talk about the $100 down. And I didn't want to forget to mention it, but finding a HUD home, finding a home that's been through foreclosure is really a great way to buy homes and fix them up because most foreclosures do need fixed up. So this morning I went on to HUD's website. I found a couple of listings, both in Cook County, and these are on the market right now. And both of them are 203K eligible and offer a $100 down payment, literally $100 down. Let's say, for example, your buyer bought this house for $150, but they needed $150 to renovate it. 150 plus 150 is 300. They put $100 down and they borrow $299,900 from the lender. That's almost like what? FHA wants an owner occupant to come in and they want them to renovate it and make it a lovely home for themselves, right? Here's an older house. This is probably a 100-year-old house here in on Pleasant Avenue. Again, both eligible for 203K and allowed to have $100 down. If I had a son or daughter right now, or I had a good friend that was looking for a house, let's buy a house. You don't have to love it, right? But you'll love the equity that you'll get from it, right? What are other homes in this neighborhood selling for? What other homes are selling for in this neighborhood? As a real estate agent, you need to know about listings that are good listings, and certainly that could be financed with a renovation type loan. All right. Well, I think what a good idea would be, maybe, Natasha, is go out and see what questions we have in the chat. So let's talk about FHA, which we covered so far. Then we'll hop into conventional. What FHA questions do you want to review now, Natasha, or would you like me to move forward?
So I'm turning my camera on. So we had a few questions that I kind of answered, but I would like them answered for everyone. So one person wanted to know, can we do a condo in these loan products? So that was one question, and I let them know that yes, we can do a condo. If it is a FHA loan, there are some certain restrictions for condos for FHA as regards to how many units in the total condo association. And then we also have the Fannie and Freddie products where we can do a condo as well. And then many wanted to know how many units, and you actually were answering the questions as they were being asked just through your natural presentation. So yeah, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 units. And if you guys have any more questions you want to drop in the chat, I see Kiara asked, is there another product that can renovate the commercial space in a mixed use? That is a really good question.
It's a great question. What I suggest to people is to check with their local bank that they might have a relationship with. Use the renovation loan to renovate the residential section, and then have your borrower get a SBA loan, a small business administration loan. Use those dollars to add your tanning beds, to add your sinks, for your beauty parlor, purchase, redo the hardwood floors, or build a bar inside your new bar or restaurant. So you look to it. That's what I suggest to people, Natasha. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
I do. And if you are working in an area and you don't know your alderman, we do have SPIF and TIF. So you may get lucky and you're able to get some SPIF funds. I know they're giving them away. I think the application is coming up, I think March 11th. But they can also utilize the SPIF and TIF funds that are available as well. We also had another question from Marigold Simon. And can we use these programs and products for flipping? And I'll go ahead and answer that question. So if your client is a house hacker is someone who lives in a unit, their intent has to be to live there 1 to 2 years, and that will be after the renovation is complete. As long as they're going to live in that property, they can utilize it for house hacking. But as it relates to investors, we do have one loan product under our Freddie Fannie where we can do a renovation investor on 1 unit. We're not made for flipping, but if they're in a long project and they're gonna be in it a good 6 mortgage payments, then that's something we can assist them with as well.
Good question. It's a good question.
Geraldine asks, what is a SPIF? So the city of Chicago has programs available where they're giving up to 50,000. Some is 50,000, 150, and 250. So I'm not the best point of contact, but if you just take that information, drop it in chat, and your local alderman, they can give you all the details. And Geraldine, I'll text you. I do have a person that assists with that as well that can probably help you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are probably grants, right? Those are grants that they're giving them for people to renovate or regentrify housing stock or commercial space, right?
Correct, for commercial space only.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. Well, that's FHA, so it's a very good product. The limited below 75,000, the standard above 75,000, where you're going to be doing like room additions or structural repairs. And before we leave, I want to make sure I told them about. You can use the renovation loan program, specifically the 203K, to reduce the number of units. So if you had a 5-family that was listed as your listing, and you can actually tell people that they could use the renovation dollars to take it from a 5-unit to a 4-unit, because all Natasha does as far as conforming renovation products is 1 to 4 family. but you could start with a 6 or you could start with a 5. As long as you end up with the 4 and the municipality or the city government approves it, we could do something like that as well. And a lot of those properties are on the market for a long time because people know they have to get a commercial loan for those, and they're not as easy to get, I don't think, than as a residential. So more information for you there. Let's talk about conventional. So the same type of program, right? The same process. You're still going to write the offer. We're going to get the contractor validated. We're going to get the bids from the contractor. We're going to get those over to the appraiser. Appraiser's going to appraise the house. We're going to get it clear to close and close the loan. Then renovation starts. But now we're going to talk about conventional. So there's 2 products, the home style and the choice. One's a Fannie Mae product, one's a Freddie Mac product. And these allow a much higher loan amount. So look here, on a single family owner occupied purchase or refinance, the loan amount that we have is $832,750. And then we have $1 million for a 2-family, 1.2 for a 3-family, and 1.6 in Cook County for a 4-family. So it's important that you understand that there's more dollars when there's the use for a multifamily for your purchasers. So more purchasing power, more refinancing power when you use a conventional loan product. Okay. So further on, we know about FHA 1 to 4 families, but you can do that as well on the conventional renovation loans. You can do a lot more condominiums with still 3 and 5% down. But also, here's a new word that we haven't talked about yet. So we've been on the call for quite some time, 40 minutes, and we never talked about second homes, but that is allowed, right? And I'm going to actually change this. We're going to change this to 90% today. Okay. So second homes up to 90%. And this would be for your homes where people have a second home, right? People who leave the city, go to North Illinois, maybe even to Wisconsin, and they have summer homes. They need to renovate as well. The thing with COVID stopped forcing people to go downtown and go to those high rises to work. People said, you know what? You guys are as productive as you are outside of the office than you are or were in the office. So if you want to work from your summer home in Wisconsin, even though you live in Chicago, and people are, and what they're doing is they're making major renovations in their second homes because they want to live there, not all year round, but a good amount of time. And they're upgrading their properties. They're putting a boat lift in. They're putting a seawall in at the lake. They're adding a deck. They're adding bedrooms, bathrooms. They're making the home energy efficient. Most summer homes that were built in the 40s and 50s were built simply for that, a summer home. People are using more year round, and here they're making them year round worthy. So they're putting in central heating systems, central air conditioning systems, putting in energy efficient windows. So not only do you have 1 to 4 families for your conventional buyers, but also condominiums and second homes. One of the benefits of the conventional program is that we do allow luxury items. FHA would never say yes to a $13,000 Viking range, right? But certainly luxury items are allowed on conventional renovation loans. So we're including in-ground pools, pickleball courts, outdoor kitchens, putting greens, lap pools, and more. So if they want to do something, maybe a sauna, whatever, these things can be included in the way of a luxury item. Conventional gives me more time to renovate, so 6 to 12 months. So these are usually larger projects. We're doing $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 renovation projects for our conventional buyers. And then you see there single family only. No 2 families, no 3 families, no 4 families, only single family investment. And that's going to be a 20 to 25% down payment. But the idea here is don't spend your own money on renovations. Your pitch to your investors would be use your money for down payment, not for improvements, not for renovations, not for labor. Use someone else's OPM, right? Other people's money. Well, Natasha and her team are your other people money, right? So you should go ahead and consider a renovation loan when you're talking to investors, not the guy that has 40, 50, 60 keys on his tool belt, but probably someone that says, you know what, I never bought an investment property before. I'm interested in buying an investment property. Probably some people on the call today, some of you have thought about buying a second home or thought about buying an investment property, but you didn't do it because you didn't have the money to renovate. And here's the idea. You don't need the money to renovate. The money comes from the lender, right? Natasha and her team. So the fact that if you bought a $300,000 house and needed $100,000 to fix it up, you just need 20% down of the A plus B. So you bring $80,000 to closing, but I give you the 100 to renovate. See there? It's pretty advantageous, right? So the choice renovation is another product. We have the home style and then the choice renovation. And there's reasons why we might use this product more than the Fannie Mae, because self-employed buyers are only required to have 1 year's, will use 1 year's of tax returns as long as they've been in business for more than 5 years. So if somebody had a really good year last year, but the year before that wasn't so hot, well, we just use the most recent year. Fannie Mae requires me to use the average of the last 2 years. So that could actually bring their qualification amount down. Deferred student loans. You know, sometimes when Natasha pulls her credit bureau and she sees those huge dollar amounts of student loans, she has to use a formula to calculate the payment for that upcoming deferred student loan. And on this program, it's only 0.5%. On the home style, it's 1%. So if you have someone that went to school 4, 5, 6 years, maybe has a master's degree, and they owe $80,000, she'd have to use $800 a month as a payment for their student loan home style, but only $400 a month if it was a Freddie loan. So that's why it's important to get your buyers in front of a loan officer, get them pre-approved, and then have Natasha and her team decide which program would be best. Here's your loan to values. Again, 3 to 5% down on one families, 5% down on 2s, 3s, and 4 units. Again, only if it's owner occupied. 1 unit, second home, 10% down, either for a purchase or refinance, 10% equity. And then for your investment properties, 20 to 25% on a purchase, 25% equity on an investment. So they move up and down. So get with Natasha and her team to talk about conventional renovation loans. And again, 1 to 4 units, second homes, and single family investment.
Got it. And Joe, I just have a few conventional questions.
Go right ahead.
Is there a limit on the number of single family home investment properties an investor can buy in a year?
Is that to me?
Yeah, if you want to answer, I can answer too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we both can. I know that we can. So my viewpoint is that there are limits depending on the investors, whether the investor would be Freddie or Fannie. They don't want you to have too many of them because the more that you have with them becomes a risk factor. But there is a maximum, and if it's non-renovation, it's usually 10 units, and it might change if it's renovation. Why don't you go ahead and give them your thoughts on that question?
Yep, same answer. So either Freddie or Fannie will allow unlimited amount of properties. I think Fannie has a little specific one, but we do want you to kind of complete one project at a time. So if they purchase one and they're doing a rehab, you know, we want them to finish that one and not have multiple projects going at the same time. But if they were to come in and say, hey, I want to purchase this 3-unit non-renovation product, and I want to purchase the 1 unit, as long as they have the reserve requirement and the funds to finance both properties, they'll generally be fine. And when I say the word reserves, I'm talking mortgage payments. So generally on your conventional products, you have to have 6 months reserve. So if the mortgage is $3,000, you need about $18,000 plus your down payment and closing costs. And we can look at it, you know, case by case scenario to help them build the portfolio, but they can utilize as much possible as we offer. The trick with investors is that they like to purchase in LLCs, and we're more in the borrower's name or in trust. Once they get in the LLC world, now they're looking to be more of an investor, and they're going to the commercial lenders. So that would be my response on that. The next question is, once you receive the 100K for the renovations, how long before you have to start making mortgage payments on the loan after the renovations are completed or during? So this is going to depend on how much you qualify for, as well as how much the property will appraise for. So we can finance as many as 12 mortgage payments as long as the duration of the job is 12 months. So if you have a project that's only going to take 3 months, then we're only going to be able to finance 3 mortgage payments. But if your job will take 12 months, then we can finance the mortgage payments. But the mortgage payments are not free. It is your equity. So when we talk about renovation cost, we're talking about your contractor bid, your architect drawings, any mortgage payments that you're making. We are talking about all of those things. And as long as the property will appraise out and the duration meets the guidelines, then you can finance mortgage payments. I have a deal that I just closed on Monday, $100 down HUD property. The client did rooftop decks. He did a lot of over improvement because it was his choice. However, there was not room to finance mortgage payments because we had met our capacity. So his mortgage is actually going to start April 1st. If he had room to finance mortgage payments, then we would have included those mortgage payments in that transaction. Yep. And then let's just see, what are the required credit scores for the Choice Renovation Program? The minimum credit score is 620. However, if you want to do 95%, you generally need to see a good 680, 700, 720, in my opinion. However, we do have some first-time home buyer options. We have the home ready option, and sometimes those special programs, if the borrower meets the income limits, will allow us to have a lower score for the higher LTV. And we do a no credit score, soft pull credit inquiry, so we can look at a client's profile without running their credit to see if they'll actually score. We had this one this morning that actually did score lower. I think they scored at about a 660, and score means that we were able to get them approved with only 3% down with that 660 based on their entire portfolio. And Joe, I don't know if you wanted to throw any comments in there as I read the next questions.
No, I think you did a really good job. So I think that's just great. So good job.
Got it. And then, can you purchase a 2-flat building and a lot for sale with the FHA 203K? The seller wants to sell as a package deal. Can you purchase a 2-flat building and a lot for sale? So my answer for this would be, as long as the transaction is one transaction. So if we're going to take both PIN numbers, add them to the contract, we would treat it just like a regular non-renovation purchase. And yes, you can do that. But if you want to get financing, if there's value in that land and it's separate value where it needs to appraise separately, then the answer would be no. But if you lump them together and they're combined, then we can definitely finance that. And Joe, I haven't had that question in a while, so if you have a different answer, let me know.
Yeah, if it's one entity, yeah. If it's one parcel, then we're going to really just put our mortgage have to cover the parcel. So you couldn't have 2 different parcels. But if they were purchased at the same time and they were being transferred at the same time, then we would encumber both properties. So we would protect both properties and we would cover them with both of our note and our mortgage on the property. So the great thing about that is the fact, if you have unique situations like that, get those to Natasha, because the answer may not always be the same on your transaction. So we'd rather give you a slow yes than a fast no, right? And make sure that we're not turning away business. So we want to help you secure properties and get sales for you, close sales for you. All right.
Got it.
Let's go right to VA now. VA renovation loan. It's a great tool. Thank you, Mr. Veteran. Thank you, Miss Veteran, for serving our country. Because of your great service, you're allowed to get a VA loan with 0 money down, but you're also able to buy a owner-occupied property, 1 to 4 family, or a condo that you'll reside in, and you can borrow up to $50,000 of repairs, or up to 10% of the as completed value. So for your veterans who can afford more than a $500,000 house, we'll allow them to borrow up to 10% of that after improved value. Let's say the veteran makes $100,000 a year, and then his or her wife or spouse makes another 100, and they can afford a $700,000 unit, but they need another 100,000 for renovation. I couldn't lend them 100, but I could lend them 80,000 if the property appraised for $800,000. So it's a moving target. So just ask if you have a veteran that's in need of renovations. We've had some veterans buy that were they buying a house for 200 but needed to put 200 in it. Unfortunately, they couldn't go VA, but we could put them to FHA, or we could put them to a conventional program. Okay. This program has the tightest period of getting the renovations done, and that is 4 months to get the renovations completed. Loan amounts to 832,000, and then each renovation loan has a contingency reserve. Specifically, that's 15%. So I'll go backwards to the FHA loan program, Natasha, and the conventional loan. Conventional renovation loans has a 10% contingency minimum. FHA has a 10% minimum as well. But if utilities are turned off, it goes to 15%. Now they may be asking, what's a contingency reserve? A contingency reserve is extra funds that the lender, the investor really forces the buyer to borrow for latent defects, things they just don't know about yet. A contractor can literally walk into a property and give a bid for all the renovations to be done, but until they break ground, until they get into the project, do they really know if what's behind the wall, what's behind the breaker box, what's inside, that firebox, and that could reduce, bring about other additional costs. So if you bring us $100,000 renovation project, the buyer has to borrow usually a minimum of 10% or $10,000, and they do borrow the money. And if they don't use the money, it's applied back to their loan balance. But most people, 80% of the people, spend about 80% of their money usually, because there's just things that happen, right? It's just a common occurrence that we would have never known about the knob and tube wiring. We would have never known about the bad plumbing. We'd never known about the lead-based paint. So there are things that people run into, and the buyers like it. The fact that they have this extra amount of money sitting in reserve in case that they need it. So it's more of a positive than a negative, but that's what we talk about when we're talking about contingency reserve. Purchase agreements. You're like, Joe, Natasha, this is great. How do I write it up, right? How do I write up an offer on a renovation home? Well, exactly like you're doing today, except we need a couple of things. Number one, you're already negotiating as is value, and that's what you're negotiating forward. The renovation piece really is all about the buyer, not the seller. The seller has to accept renovation financing and know that they're getting a 203K loan, or they're getting a VA renovation loan, or they're getting a conventional renovation loan. But really, by doing so, you're really taking the seller out of the transaction as far as required repairs. So basically, you're like, Mr. Seller, don't worry. This client's going to make an offer using renovation loan, and whatever they come up with, they're going to take care of. Whether it's the knob and tube wiring, the septic system in the backyard, the plumbing, or the connection to the services from the county line, whatever it is. And so the way that you write up offers for renovation homes is similar to what you're doing now. Just give us a financing contingency that reflects financing. Now, as I said at the beginning of the session, all the loan products that we've discovered, right, that we've discovered and we reviewed, FHA, VA, conventional, all are available for homeowners as well. So can an existing homeowner refinance and remodel? The answer is yes. Why is that advantageous to them? Because they get to use an appraisal like no other, and that is a after improved or as repaired value. What's the home worth when I'm all said and done? Renovation draws are done differently. It depends on the type of the program, and I'll leave these for your review, and you can look at them for the different programs. It's not complicated, just complex, but each program pays out the draws in a different manner. Okay. Renovation marketing. We have renovation marketing for your homes, for flyers. We could make PDF files for you. You could forward them to other agents that are going to show your listings, or you can keep these on your person. So when you show a house that needs renovated, you're like, hey, I've got some information on renovation loans, and you should call the Natasha team when doing so. Natasha has yard signs that she can order for you, or she may already have some ready to go. This helps people advertise the fact that homes are renovation ready, right? that there are homes that you can buy and then the seller will accept renovation financing, but also other flyers that go right into the home, including open house flyers, educational flyers, and those that talk to buyers that are coming through an open house or just a regular showing. So look to Natasha and her team for any renovation flyers that you may want to get to place in the home to have on your person to pass out when homes that need renovation come into play. As a gift today, we're giving you loan scripts and talking points for realtors. So we're giving you a general script about, hey, have you ever heard about the renovation loan? And we're giving you tidbits on the FHA. We're giving you tidbits to talk about the conventional loan, tidbits to talk about the VA loan, right? So these are just talking points from today's seminar we're giving you. So you're not going to remember everything we talked about today, but this is kind of like a cheat sheet to have with you when you're talking over the phone or interviewing the client that might need a renovation loan. So I think in closing today, renovation equals growth, right? You took the time out to spend with us for about an hour or a little bit more than an hour. Using renovation loan helps you grow your business by opening up more doors to more buyers and more buying opportunities, overcoming the objections by the buyer, right? If you're not asking your buyers why they're not writing offers on homes that you think they should be, you should know why. Let me give you an example. You know, Mary and John, I'm really surprised. I thought this house on Michigan Avenue would be the house that you'd write an offer on. We like it, but did you see that roof? Did you see the water in the basement? Did you see the old knob and tube wiring? Now you have a way to overcome their objection to saying, well, did you realize that there's a loan program out there that allows you to finance the roof, the knob and tube wiring, and probably find the water infiltration problem with this house? And because it has these issues, this house is priced below market value. So every home on the street sells for 600. This is being listed at 510,000. So we could borrow the difference, $90,000 or so, to take care of all these items. And if we can get it done for 60 or 70,000, you'd have some instant equity. See that? Turn a negative into a positive. Serve more clients. Have your clients understand the vision of selling a fixer, right? Of buying a fixer, right? How you can borrow the money at $6 per thousand. Earn more commissions, right? The more time you spend showing houses to people takes you away from selling to others. So my goal, Natasha's goal, our goal today is to have you not show 30 houses per couple, but actually just show 10 or 15. Because the first 15 you show them are ones they should buy. And if they're not writing an offer, they may not even know about renovation mortgages. And then don't let homes that that you show scare them away, saying, hey, this house is kind of scary. This house is kind of risky. But when you borrow non-risk dollars to renovate it, you'll be the benefactor and hopefully get yourself some positive equity into the home. Today, we're going to offer you a free feasibility studies. These come only via Natasha's team. So if you want a free feasibility study, what this is a inspection from a local HUD consultant. They go through the property and they're going to give the property a list of items that are required to bring the house up to FHA minimum standards. Now, this is just an example, but an example, this would be $105,000. These are things that the buyer should do, would do, or could do that would bring the house up to FHA minimum standards. It's about a $500 value. We're offering it to you today only through Natasha's team. They have to order it. This could be something you could have for your listings ahead of time. This is something that you could get for your buyer if they're getting ready to make an offer. If you don't know the extensiveness of the repairs, then how do you know what to offer, right? So sometimes people will say, I'm interested in the house, but I don't know what the amount of repairs are. You may need a feasibility analysis to tell you, here are the things that you need to bring the house up to FHA or conventional or VA standards. And here's a price point for dollars that need to be borrowed in order to do that. More on that. We're having, as a company, a revived stale listings presentation by one of our third-party vendors, and they are PHI, and they show you as a realtor how you can look for listings that need renovated, understand why homes sell better with renovation loans than they do without. So that is next Tuesday, the 24th at 1 p.m. Central. And you can actually register for that class here by using this QR code. All right. You certainly know who I am. We'd love for you to fill out the questionnaire. So here's a QR code, and we'll send you something and a thank you note. And we want to know what you want. You know, what didn't we cover today? What can we help you with, right? Do you want an open house sign? Do you want some renovation flyers? So we certainly want to hear from you and know how Natasha's team can help you. Let's go back to questions, Natasha, and I'll let you finish us out.
Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. So I know my team member is going to change the screen here, but we do have a questionnaire for you guys. If you have listings that you need signs for, I think I have about 70 of those signs. So we can go ahead and get those out to you right away to help push the renovation product. And we can get those live. We can also help create financing flyers as well. We have those as well for you. And I'm just checking to make sure. I know I answered a lot of questions in the chat. And I know sometimes it's hard to read the chat. So a few questions that were asked that I thought were good questions that everyone should know is, when does a renovation buyer need a HUD consultant? And a renovation buyer needs a HUD consultant if they're spending $75,000 in total renovation costs and or they are making structural repairs. We do have a relationship here where we can actually refer you to a third-party company. So we don't always have to have a HUD consultant. We just look at it case-by-case scenario based on the needs of the customer. So with that being said, as I talk to the client, I'll make the judgment call. A lot of clients like to go with the lower cost. I feel like the HUD consultant is a little more hands-on, but I do have a lot of experienced buyers where they don't need that hand-holding and the costs are a little lower when we use the third-party person in lieu of the consultant on the conventional loan products. The other question that I had, am I sharing the presentation? If you register for the Zoom today and you are on and registered, you will get a copy of the renovation Zoom. We're also working on the recap video for the brunch, so you can get some of those, some of that information. And then we just dropped the link for the survey, and pretty much is just ask, you know, if you have a property you need us to help you market. I want to do some one-on-one. So if you have a good property that has good ARV, I would love to have a contractor walk it so we can kind of show the clients what it looks like, how much things really cost. As a realtor, you guys need to know how much things cost. A lot of the transactions take forever to close. One, no shame on my agents, but a lot of the listing agents don't start asking questions have somebody that's just stringing you along and putting you into a situation, and just really cheap pointers are in that first 7 days, you should have a consultant coming out. You should see contractor bids. And within 2 weeks, you should definitely have an appraiser out. And if you don't have an appraiser calling you within 2 weeks, then there are some issues with the numbers. So just pay attention to those key points there. And I think that'll kind of help you along the way. And for my buyer agents, you want to make sure that you have contractors in your Rolodex. One of the questions was, do we refer contractors? The answer is no. I am not allowed to refer a contractor. As a realtor, you can. So if you really want to push this product, you want to get out there and really get some good contractors in your database that were referred to you. Contractors are the hardest part of this process. I tell everyone, call 7 contractors, only 5 will call you back. Maybe 3 might show up, and maybe you might get lucky and get 2 bids. But if you start with that one contractor, you're just wasting time, and you're inconveniencing the seller, because now the seller has to show it again and again and again. And now they don't want any more renovation loan products. They just want a cash offer, right? So we just have to have the etiquette of making sure that we spend a least amount of the seller's time in this process. And the way we do that is by scheduling those contractors. If you have one that you love, schedule them for the first 45 minutes. The next 15 minutes after that, you can roll them in on the same day. Blame me. My lender's making me do this, right? But you will learn something from getting multiple bids, and it will save you so much time and money. And understand how much things cost. from my experience, and don't quote me because I'm not a licensed contractor, you just can't renovate a basement for $8,000 anymore. So when you guys come and send me a picture of a property that needs a gut rehab and you're talking $120,000, well, from what I see, you're going to spend $120,000 on windows, tuck pointings, roof, porches before you even walk into that property. So the cost of renovation is definitely more. And when you're talking to contractors, you want to talk to contractors that have done work after COVID, because the price of wood, the price of lumber is not the same price in 2025 as it was in 2021. So other than that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Janita, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything. We definitely didn't want to tie up your entire day, but I felt like we really needed to get some good information out. Joe Daly does a really good job with explaining the programs. I think he might do it 3-4 times a day. So he has a lot of experience with it. So with that being said, I don't see any more questions. And I appreciate you guys for joining us today. You are amazing. Utilize our products. We are here for you. I have expanded my team and we are ready to take on your renovation loans. And we do more than just renovation loans. We offer jumbo loans, new construction special rates, 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And you know, I do FHA, VA, conventional, and rehab. And we're not going to talk about it today, but Guarantee Rate actually just went on board with the one-time close program where we can do new construction products, which we will talk about on another zone. So that is all that I have today. Somebody said, do I have special events? We'll email you everything. We're going to be having something monthly. So tune in. You can always go to loansbynatasha.com, but it will be something going on renovation in my world once a month. So I look forward to spreading the love of the program this year. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have an amazing day.
See you guys. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.